313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Oh, thank you, and welcome to another show on Politics or Politricks, You Decide, with Brother Tulu Cabone and Brother Justin Barnett. Brother Justin Barnett is getting some car repairs done right now, but he do send his love and respect. And you know we always say, if you hear the sound of our voice, that means God has blessed you to see another day. Prayers go up, blessings come down. Let's say amen, amen. Pardon me. I want to give a shout out to Brother R.J. Watkins and Brother Henry Tyler for being the brainchild of this operation known as WHPR 88.1 FM, 107.5 FM, WGPR HD3, R&B Hall of Famers 2015. Also want to give a shout out to Miss Maxine and Miss Michelle as well. And anybody that want to get on and watch us live, you can see the videos. Go to 313 Watkins, WATKINS.com. Let's go. 313 Watkins, WATKINS.com. Phone number is 313-365-7379, and that's 313-365-7379. Well, good day, Grand Rising to everyone. We wasn't here Monday, of course. It was the holiday, Memorial Day, and I shout out to all of those who died defending this country. Shout out to those who were the Buffalo Soldiers, African Americans who were seen and unseen, who also defended this I was going to say so-called democracy, but the concept of what a democracy is supposed to look like. Shout out to them. I think I feel like sometimes the black soldiers who really sacrificed themselves for this country aren't really recognized as much as they did, and particularly in the summer of 1919. A lot of people know about that, where a lot of soldiers came home for World War I, and they was treated very viciously, and a lot of them fought back. But just shout out to everybody who sacrificed their life for this country, and I can't, I just say I can't thank them enough. So y'all, we're gonna have an interesting show today. I really want to just, I'm kind of still on the fence about what happened with Jasmine Crockett, and I got to say this. I just feel compelled to say this. I don't understand how Texas did not pick Jasmine Crockett to be the candidate to represent them on the Senate. They picked a guy named Talarico that never ran for political office that I'm familiar with. A lot of the Hispanics voted for him, and a lot of the whites voted for him in Texas. And he run against a guy now known as Kim Paskin, right? And Kim Paskin, man, he has a horrible track record. But the point is, why? And this is I was watching Native Land Pod today, and one thing Andrew Gillum said is that in the Democratic Party we have to confront the fact that racism exists, and I'm paraphrasing. So let me say that I'm paraphrasing. We have to confront the fact that racism exists within our own party, right? And he said that some Democrats will say when they're voting, I don't see race. He said, no, I want you to see race, because I want you to understand that when you get in there to vote, I don't want you to have a subconscious thought, well, can this black, he's black, can he be qualified to run the country? Because unfortunately, people have been brainwashed and taught that black people are not buffoons and buffoons are idiots. Well, we're far from that. So I can't help to think that Jasmine Crockett was overqualified. Listen, overqualified to run to be an elected official for the United States Senate. There's one other black woman who was elected to the United States Senate, and may have been the only black woman elected to the United States Senate, and that was Kamala Harris. She was the only black woman that I've known that was elected to be in the United States Senate, which is, the Senate is like the big cheese of everything. So when I begin to really think about it, and I look at how Kamala Harris was done when it came to the presidential election, how a lot of people shunned her, right? That's supposed to be affiliated with the Democratic Party. And we need to have a conversation, right? And say what it is. A lot of people try to spin it. Well, it was her, what policies? I listened to a guy today. He was on Morning Joe. He was a Hispanic influencer. And they said, well, what do you think that the Democratic Party need to do in order to get the Hispanic votes? He said, well, they need to talk to, they've been talking to y'all. No disrespect to the Hispanic brothers and sisters, but they protesting on y'all behalf. Ain't nobody protested on us except one time, George Floyd. They created all these policies, came with a concept called woke, and then they took everything back under the Trump administration. The No King March, that's what that's about. So when I see people say stuff like they need to get our attention, they're already getting your attention. And the thing is, we need y'all need to help us get what we trying to get so we can combine together. And I just feel like we black people sometimes are taking, this is my opinion, are taken advantage of by some of our Democratic constituents. And what I mean by that, they don't really have an interest in representing our interests. For instance, right, let's look at the uncommitted in Dearborn, those who voted uncommitted and those who voted uncommitted in the Hamtramck. Right? If it wouldn't have been for the sacrifice of black people in the 60s, starting with the Civil Rights Act, starting with the Voters' Rights Act, then the immigration came about, I think December the 1st, 1965, the Immigration Act came about, which opened the floodgates for everybody to come over here. They wouldn't be in the position they're in. So why couldn't, and I say that because they act as if black people was not a contributor to open all these doors up for everybody else to have the rights that they have. We were. We did, and we done, right? So done meaning that, done, I'm being facetious with that word, meaning sarcastic or being a smart butt when I say done, because we continue to move forward. But stop acting like black people didn't contribute to the elevation of everybody else and the rights that they got. Please stop doing that, because let's eliminate the Democratic Party. Go there first, right? And let's eliminate black people fighting for the rights that we fought for so everybody else can have rights that we did in the 60s. Would people have the rights that they have now? Would the immigration law have been reformed in 1965? Probably not. Nobody's out there that's benefiting for immigration now was stomping the pavement then like we did for civil rights in the 60s. But at that time, Lyndon Baines Johnson had, I guess, a change of heart, because I think it was 1957 or 19, when I think he was the United States Senator, he was a little racist too. Now let's call a spade a spade. But I'm just saying, so whenever I hear people, like I was talking to Mr. Tyler about Pajil Jalapal, if I said her name correctly, one of the leaders of the progressive movement in the Democratic Party, and when she said that she wanted to give reparations to the children or the family of children who was in these immigration lockups, and I agree with this in this sense, that you should be fighting for immigration for black people too, right? Like we raising our hand, And when she said that, there was a lot of backlash on that, because black people like, hold up, wait a minute, let us get our 2 cents in it. You know what I'm saying? Which we ain't saying that the children of immigrants shouldn't be receiving money. That's not what we're saying. But if you are taking that in consideration, giving them reparations, then you got to also take in consideration that we deserve reparations. It can't be a one-way show. And one thing I learned, I was watching, as I stated, Native Land Pod today. And one thing they said is like independent media like this, Joy Reid, Native Land Pod, Roland Martin, all of us has a contributing factor to the development or sharing information that you're not going to see on mainstream media. They're not going to talk and share the things that we say or do the things that we do. Right? So I want to just say thank, again, Mr. Watkins and Mr. Henry Tyler for putting this together. All right, y'all, we finna set it off and go to the first video. But I really did want to share that. I can hear Ms. Tyler. I can't hear myself. So I really want to set that off and bring that up. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, we have to start questioning for those who we put in leadership, the people we're voting for now, right? I'm a believer that you have to vote. Let's be clear about that. I'm not going to tell people not to vote. That to me, because when you don't vote, somebody going to vote for you and they're going to pass laws against you. Hence, this is what we got right now. Correct? This is what's going on. That's what the uncommitted was about. The uncommitted was about, well, we ain't going to vote. If we do vote, we're not going to vote for Kamala Harris or Democratic Party. We're going to vote for Jill Steiner. We're going to vote for Trump, or we're not going to vote at all. And you see what they got in return. They're getting it. Unfortunately, they're over there killing Lebanon, blowing Gaza up. Now they're seeing something where Trump trying to pass or put something in effect where if you trying to get a green card, they want you, if you over here waiting for a green card, if I heard this correctly, they want to send you back to your country while you getting approved. And if you want to come over, they want you to stay in your country to apply for the green card. Whereas before, when you was over here, you can get the green card and stay over here. See, Kamala Harris wouldn't have done all that. But, you know, you get what you vote for. Now, I say it that way. You get what you vote for. All right, y'all, we're going to set it off with the first video. Here's Jasmine Crockett, and I'm just, shouts out to Jasmine, for real talk. Let her set it off. All right, y'all, listen what she got to say.
Forward. It's much more insidious than what, this is like Al Capone. Does anybody believe that it was just tax evasion? Come on, he was a criminal. He killed, he murdered.
And you use that to justify your existence. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Florida, which way are we going?
No, I was just going to note they were 36 seconds over, and I think Ms. Crockett needs to catch an airplane, so she could go first.
Gentleman from Texas, then we'll come to the gentleman from Florida.
Well. It is so hard to sit here and listen to this. That's one reason I watched the majority of this and didn't actually sit in this room, because I'm sure my faces would have told everything that I was thinking. Is there anyone that finds it odd? Well, can we start here? I'm gonna start with the entire panel. Are the Proud Boys a white supremacist organization, yes or no? Starting with Ms. Wiley.
It is my view they are.
It depends on how you define it. I have a book.
Okay, never mind.
It
Next.
depends on how you
it's
define it.
It's a yes or no. Proud
Oh.
Boys, how they define themselves. Are they white supremacists, yes or no?
I have not read a description of how they
Okay,
define themselves.
that's fine.
I'm not on their mailing list, I don't know.
So are you only on the mailing list of?
I'm not like the
White
SPLC, I don't
supremacists, or-
fund organizations that I'm
Oh, it just seemed like you were saying because you haven't received their mail, you only received the mail of white supremacists. But go ahead, last witness.
No, they're not white supremacists.
And you know what? I do believe that y'all believe that. Let's try another one. Neo-Nazis, Miss Wiley.
Well, yes.
What?
Nazis is in their name. Neo-Nazis, Dr. Swain.
Is the question still about the Proud Boys, or is it about the
Neo-Nazis.
Neo-Nazi-
We have moved on. Neo-Nazis.
Neo-Nazis are hate groups, and I have a book, 2002.
Okay, thank you so much.
About
So we're
hate
gonna-
groups
so-
that I suggest that you all read.
I'm reclaiming
It's a
my
long
time.
book.
I'm reclaiming my time. Neo-Nazis. Are they white supremacists?
Neo-Nazis, are they white supremacists?
Yes or no?
What's that?
Yes or no?
They're certainly anti-Semitic, which I would join with any member of the Democratic Party. Mr. Nadler earlier was talking about standing up for the
Okay,
Jewish
reclaiming my time.
I'd be happy
Next.
to do that.
Yes, they're white supremacists.
Woo, thank God. Jesus Christ, I didn't think we were going to get there. Oh my gosh, let me be clear. Proud Boys are freaking white supremacists. Neo-Nazis are too. And this president, who loves to coddle white supremacists, has decided that they should be given checks. The reasons that I pointed to those particular organizations is because you can go and read, I don't know how many articles, as Dr. Swain wants people to read up. I'm going to be clear. I've read my fair share of books. I do have my fair share of degrees. It is clear that neo-Nazis as well as Proud Boys joined in on January 6th. Yet this slush fund that they keep talking about is specifically to give them money. So how dare this majority sit here and try to lecture this organization about money? Now, we're not talking about tax-paying dollars as we are in that slush fund. But you're telling me that $2 billion in the same country that I'm sure some of y'all would struggle with whether or not the enslavement of black people was good or bad. I'm not even going to go there and ask y'all the question because y'all struggle with defining that these people were white supremacists. But this country still hasn't thought that reparations made sense for black folk in this country. But at the same time, they've decided that people that are in organizations that are absolutely white supremacy organizations should get our tax dollars because they decided to tear apart or attempt to tear apart our democracy. They are being rewarded. These are people that went through our criminal justice system. When people on that side of the aisle claim that they love law and order, they went through it. They either entered pleas of guilty or they were found guilty. And this president, on day one, his priority was not around racism. It was around doing things like letting them go and now putting money in their pockets. We haven't had one hearing on white supremacy. Yet when we look at things like the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the 9 worshipers who were murdered at the Mother Emanuel AME Church, the 23 people murdered in 2019 during the shooting at Walmart in El Paso, the 10 people murdered during the 2022 shooting at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, all of these were murdered by white supremacists who are empowered by the Republican Party's racist rhetoric and policies. This is the same party that wants to drag us back to the Jim Crow era. Some say that there aren't poll taxes, and I guess it's because they're not listing the amount of money. But when you tell somebody that they've got to go and pay for something, say, like a passport that costs over $100 in order to be able to vote, that looks like a poll tax to me. Some of y'all need to read up on your history books, the very same ones that the Republicans have decided that people should not hear about because you don't want real history taught in our schools because you're afraid that it's going to hurt people's feelings to know that their ancestors were so savage that they would enslave black folk. You don't want them to understand why the 14th Amendment mattered then and it matters today. You don't want them to understand that when they draw these racist lines and tell black folk that they shouldn't have representation in this country, that it is against the Constitution. You want them to be ignorant so that they can sit up here and be your token for your mission.
Come on now. Jasmine Crockett is fired. She said everything that many of us want to say. We just don't have, we're not in a position to say that. And they want to vote for her? Why? And like she said, there's never been a hearing held on white supremacy, even though you can't act. So let's just evaluate what she said. Phone number to call in is 313-365-7379. Tell me when a black man have went to a white church with all white people in there, sat there, waited till they was praying, and decided to kill them. You can't name one. You can't tell me a black man went out to, and that happened at the Emmanuel Baptist Church. That happened. You can't tell me where a black man decided to go to a supermarket and shoot 10 people because they was white. You can't name one. You can't. You can't name where a black police officer, Sandra Bland, did a white person like what happened with Sandra Bland. You can't name one. You can't name a black police officer that choked out a white guy for 9 minutes while other officers stood around and watched him. You can't name one. You can't name a black security guard that followed a 17-year-old boy home after being told by the police to leave him alone because the white young man had Skittles and he killed him and was found not guilty. You can't name one. You can't name a group of black people that went and lynched a white man because a white woman lied on him and said that he raped her at the time. You can't name one. But on the opposite corner of that, you can't name black people. You can't name a hearing that was held and you had black organizations or black people that's in power criticizing white organizations for trying to root out racism that is affecting them like black people are being affected. You can't name one. So whenever you tell me about fairness, and I'm looking at this, and this goes towards, and I want to say this in fairness as well. And when white people like Tim Wise or Janet Ellis step up, they ignore them. White people they call them woke. That's the word they use for white people who defend or speak against or criticize racism or Trumpism, right? They call it woke. But so whenever I hear people say that the system of laws and orders are fair, I chuckle in a sense. I chuckle in the sense like, let's be clear, it's not. And I just gave y'all some scenarios of what transpired. You can't name one. So if you can't name one, what's really going on? As Marvin Gaye said, what's going on? This is real. And now, so Jasmine Crockett is out of there after this term, right? January, she's done. Somebody else won her seat. I forgot the brother's name, but he's a preacher. She put all the marbles on for the Senate, and they elected Tallarico, right? And this is what happened. Even when it came to voting in her district, there were things wrong with the voting issue, right? And some of them weren't even told where to vote until they got to the polls. So it was a lot of skullduggery. They don't want Jasmine Crockett in the Senate. Jasmine Crockett is a firecracker. But what bothers me is the Democratic Party in general, not saying black people, be clear, did not criticize how the election was ran. They got mad at Jasmine Crockett, and this is what our people do, unfortunately, some of us. They got mad at Jasmine Crockett, some of our people did, and so-called the progressives got mad because they say she took AIPAC money or she didn't answer a question correctly concerning the Jews and what was going on in Gaza. And which to me, man, I just don't get it. And why do I say that? Why do I say that? And I'm saying it because when we look at the political arena in general, there's not one black person would not want, unless you a bootlicker, let me say it like that, don't want Jasmine Crockett speaking on our behalf. And you want to judge her for that? For that one thing, when we look at the history of American politics, the things that has been done to us and by us and against us, even white women didn't have a right to vote until they passed the 19th Amendment, that Pete Hegseth invites a pastor to come talk to the people in the Pentagon this year that said if he could, he would abolish the 19th Amendment, and that slavery and slaves had a romanticized relationship? Are you for real? And you want to get mad at her for that one thing that you feel that she was wrong for answering? man, y'all don't stop. I mean, just say what it is, you know. Then they start saying she a loudmouth. Well, did you ever hear Nancy Pelosi talk? Nancy Pelosi was really what they call a loud. So these standards that you are applying to black people, particularly black women that's running for these positions of power, is a bunch of fugazi. Don't eat fugazi. Y'all just don't want to say what it is. Y'all don't want to empower because she's an effective black woman. Like you didn't want Kamala Harris in power. Kamala Harris was overqualified for that position. And I hope she run again. You got Democratic pundits saying, well, I don't think she's, why shouldn't she run? She's overqualified. It bothers me. Bothers me. And as a black man, or as a black man in America, I don't like no isms, no blackism, no white race. I don't like no isms, none, period. Every person should be judged based on the content, and I ain't saying it for a cliche like some of the Republicans. The content of their character or whatever you choose to do is all right with me. But to tell me that I don't matter or my people don't matter or you don't put somebody in office because she's a black woman or a black man, I got a problem with that. I got a real problem with that. And I should, because this America been built on that. Y'all didn't say nothing. We was out there building cotton and doing all that stuff. You was good then, you know what I'm saying? Now we want to be in a position of power to make decisions. That's a problem. All right, y'all, let's get to the next video. Let's set it off. This is going to be, and power to Jasmine Crockett. Power to Jasmine Crockett, for real.
Of the very important, historic, award-winning 1619 Project, a sister who fights for us when we see it and when we don't. This is none other than Nicole Hannah-Jones, who's joining us today to talk about Trump's attack on civil rights, because Donald Trump, and we should put that headline up, has said that civil rights were very bad. Oh, Joy got a twin now. I got two Joys up. That's amazing. But instead of putting a second Joy up, let's put the headline up of Donald Trump saying that civil rights were very bad for the whites. And I'm sure Nicole Hannah-Jones has some things to say about this. They were very badly treated as a result of civil rights. Nicole said, surprise, not surprise, y'all. You should have been paying attention. Hey, sis, how you doing?
Hey, how are y'all?
Hey.
Good. Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Thank you. I'm just gonna say that felt like some subtle shade, Bakari. But Andrew, thank you for the proper welcome. Bakari was like,
are the shady.
That's y'all people. Okay, I got you.
Nicole, he literally
my shade is never subtle.
It's never subtle.
And said, when he joined the show, he said that we needed a Beyonce, and there's a Farrah in here somewhere. On Tiff's last day, he told her that she was Farrah.
Well,
so
we found out who Farrah was.
Yeah, you know, so like
Farrah.
for real. That means he loves you if you throw that kind of shade,
Farrah.
apparently.
Oh,
He's
Farrah.
so rude. Poor Farrah. Farrah, we love you.
I love y'all
you.
all. I love y'all all. I do want to hear your take though, because I know that there is this sentiment that I think the five of us can honestly say we told y'all this was going to be the case. I mean,
Right.
you know, if it walks like a racist and quacks like a racist, it probably is a racist. And, you know, back in the day on CNN, I got in trouble for saying that Donald Trump uses racism as political currency. I didn't even call him a racist.
I called him racist and got in trouble.
Me too.
You
Yeah.
should have said the racists think he's a racist.
Amen.
You
Somebody
did
used that in a
debate,
great
Andrew. Well
debate.
done.
Great debater.
So what do
Andrew
you tell
Gill.
me? Tell me what's your analysis of this new truth telling that Donald Trump is doing?
Well, Donald Trump is not doing new truth telling, but all of a sudden people are recognizing and taking him at his word for what he's saying. I mean, what I've read this a couple of times now, where people are saying, "Oh, that the wokes were right. They were just prematurely right," which is an insane thing to say, right? Is that, you know, even though we were trying to warn people that this is who Donald Trump was, this is where the Republican Party was going, that his election was not about economic anxiety, but demographic anxiety, we were dismissed. Often by our own colleagues, by the people who were moderate, and also, frankly, by people who have not spent any serious time studying the history of this country and the history of race in this country. And those of us who have studied it, right? Who we're not just basing this off of our lived experience. Like we researched this, we have gained an expertise. We were dismissed by people who were just going on vibes, right? Like white vibes. So it doesn't feel good to be right. We're in a terrible place in this country. But I do want some acknowledgement that folks tried to tell you. We wrote about it, we talked about it, we lectured about it, and we were cast off as biased, as hyperbolic, as hysterical. So the other day, as you know, I posted a piece I wrote literally a decade ago when Donald Trump was elected the first time, and we were told that because some white voters had voted for Obama, that it couldn't have had anything to do with race. And once again, we're like, you don't know your country. You're reporting on your country. You're trying to help people understand their country when you don't understand it yourself. So how I feel is, I don't even want to say I feel vindicated, because we knew we were right. We knew we were right because we were based on what we were saying on our understanding of actually having studied and gained expertise in the country.
Professor, I'm sorry to have interrupted. Didn't they know too? I mean, I this is not a revelation. It can't be a revelation for anybody, including white folk, that there were things they were willing to walk past in sake of a thing greater that they wanted. You know, clearly it wasn't going to be to their detriment. They had determined that in their own mind's eye, right? That, okay, well, it ain't the thing that I'm going out and saying at work tomorrow, but if he want to do it, you know, let it be, and I'll hold my nose, is what I'm telling my friends, because he's not so toxic as Hillary Clinton or whatever the thing was they were saying about her. Just to me, it doesn't seem like this is a moment where we're like, we told you so. It is, we told you then, we telling you again now. Y'all heard us and you knew it then, you just walked past it.
I think it's some of both. Certainly, there's a large, perhaps most, of white Americans, a large percentage, maybe even more than half, who knew exactly who Donald Trump was, and he was speaking to them. And in that piece I wrote 10 years ago, I talked to some of them. You know, they're like, oh, it was liberating. This is what we've always felt. We felt like, you know, Obama in the White House was supposed to make it so we never had to talk about race again. And you're complaining about Trayvon Martin, and there's a black man in the White House. We don't want to hear about it anymore. And here comes Trump, and he's saying all the things that we now, because of the civil rights movement, because of efforts to pretend we were a more racially egalitarian society, it was no longer acceptable to say these things in civil society. And then Trump was saying them. So there is a large population that felt liberated by that. But I also think there's a significant population that frankly was in denial, that unless he was out there saying the N-word every single day, they wanted to pretend that not only was he not racist, but that, you know, oh, he's just a buffoon. When he says he wants to run again in 2028, he's just joking. He's not to be taken seriously. Or they also were in denial about how many folks were willing, like who didn't actually believe in democracy in the first place. I think they actually thought all of these oligarchs believed in democracy. They drank that Kool-Aid. And when we were saying, no, this is actually going to be an attack on democracy, I don't think a lot of people took it seriously.
I agree with that.
I don't think they believed it. So I think what we have is this convergence of both of those things. And now you have folks, I mean, you know, Joe Rogan, who's like, oh, we don't want, you know, I'm like, really? Now you're worried about a Gestapo that you helped usher in? So I think, you know, you said something important, Andrew. Folks were willing to accept other people's destruction.
Pain. That's right.
They believed wholeheartedly that their whiteness would mean they would not also face destruction.
That's right.
And now they're waking up to the reality of what we were trying to say all the time. And it's frankly, you cannot have this much inequality and maintain your democracy at the same time.
Let me ask you a question, because I wanted
to each other.
That's it.
I wanted to bring Joy and you in this conversation, because for me, and I think Andrew probably has a similar feeling, maybe, you know, being elected before, running, trying to trying to persuade voters, no matter what they look like, where they come from. You kind of walk into politics with this naivete that you're going to be able to convince people to vote for you, you know, because you all have the same issues, right? No matter if you're white or black, have a Confederate flag. You want to believe that you want your mama to have access to prescription drugs. Like, you don't want to have to struggle. And when you see people like Joe Rogan, and I want to toss to that clip right now, but when you see people like Joe Rogan have these moments of truth, Joy, Nicole, how do we process that? How do we accept them? Do we accept them? Do we discount them? Do we disregard them? Do we say, I told you so? What do we do with the Joe Rogans who, by the way, speak for millions of people, unfortunately or fortunately, and even more importantly, millions of voters that are going to be important in 2026 and 2028. So let's talk to the clipping on the other side. If Professor and if Joy, if y'all can respond to that, I'd appreciate it.
You don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to?
Is that part of the reckless the way in which they've done it? Had they all been brown and not white women and elderly and all these others?
But do we even, is that question even relevant with people who are having these come to Jesus, Joy?
Well, come to Jesus only because they see themselves reflected.
Yeah. I'm a watch what they do, not what they say person. My guess is the next election ballot comes in front of Joe Rogan. He votes exactly the same way. If Donald Trump was on the ballot again, he votes exactly the same way. People like Joe Rogan, the just asking questions guy, he does speak for lots and lots of unintelligent, uneducated white men who are angry about literally what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump is very transparent. Yep. They are mad about the civil rights movement. They do feel that voting rights and civil rights for black people took away their rights as white men to be mediocre and successful, to get into college even if they didn't deserve it, to get jobs they didn't deserve. And they're putting that back in place now. Notice the men and women they hire who are white are underqualified, and that's by design. They want back the world in which being mediocre and white means that there's no barrier to your success, and they're pissed off that excellent non-white people have gotten to rise. But I will say that the Joe Rogan revelations are because they didn't expect to have to watch it. The reason that Ida B. Wells was so powerful, the reason that Emmett Till's mom, what she did was so powerful, is white people want to have privilege and they want to have non-white people get hurt, but they don't want to have to watch it. They don't want to have their souls implicated in it. And so because they're now watching their Gardner, right, they don't want to watch John Lewis get beat. They just want him to get beat without them having to see it and having to be accountable for it. And I think the accountability of the fact that this administration wants to broadcast the cruelty, they want to make it into like a cops show. So they're making everybody watch it. It's all over social media. They're posting it on social media. And so people like Joe Rogan are going like, wait a minute, I didn't know they were going to go in Home Depot and get the guy who's going to fix my house. I didn't know they were going to go get the, the guy that I'm buying arepas from on the side of the road. Hang on a second. I can't get food at my restaurant because all the workers won't show up. Who's going to serve me my beer? Who's going to serve me my food? So now they're realizing, oh, this does impact me. And so I'm interested to watch them come to this revelation that they should have been able to figure out by us just literally telling them. But I'm more interested in what do they do with that information. And I'm very dubious that most of them are going to do something different. I do think there's a percentage of them. 40% of white folks have always voted with us for a long time, since the 60s. So I think those 40 are going to get stronger. Those 40 are going to get louder. Those 40 are going to get more outraged that white women are getting shot in the face now, that they're now on the table. But those 40 are who we need to focus on. The 60 got to come to Jesus on their own. I'm not about recruiting them because they are usually unchangeable.
All right, y'all. I could watch the whole thing, but what they saying was powerful. And I if you go back and watch our videos, and you catch our videos if you go to YouTube, TV33 on demand. Type in politics or Politricks, you decide in the search bar. On this, it's the radio. It's this channel for this radio station, on Real Talking to. And what I said was that for those white people who voted for Donald Trump, they felt as if that he was only going to get the black ones and the Mexicans, not us. We're not going to be a victim of that. But when you deal with most people who have a racist attitude, they're also misogynists too. They don't really respect women like that, right? Let's look at the three women that's gone now. Christine Nomes, Tulsi Gabbard, and Pam Bundy. All three women, right? Christine Nomes left on her own. Tulsi Gabbard Christine Nomes was told she was demoted. Pam Bundy was demoted. And Tulsi Gabbard said she left because she had issues with her husband. Unfortunately, which we do, I pray for anybody that's in sickness. He's sick. But, and so when people voted for Trump, he was a great awakening to them. He's going to save our country. And as Joyce said, he's going to, I'm mediocre, meaning that the white person, because I done dealt with people that's racist, and they are shocked to find out how smart I may be at certain times. And it kind of offends them a little bit. Like, well, why, I didn't think that black people, I said, well, why did you think that? Right? Because the fact that America has gave them a false perception of black people by not teaching them about black inventions, by not teaching them the benefits that African Americans had given to the history, they begin to be shocked that I'm acting this way. So now when I get in a position that I'd earned through my own self, I got in a position that I earned by working, right, for what I want, they look at me like, well, hold on, why is he there? Charles Brown, we got a caller. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, Tula.
Hello.
This is Amanda. I just wanted to make a comment on when you were talking about all the women that have left since Trump being in there, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's another one.
Correct.
And you've seen how, now, granted, she, I don't know, she ain't got no respect. Well, she's actually getting a little respect in my book now, but when she had his back all the way, she did not have no respect. But that is a really, she was another woman that got treated bad. But great show. I just want to make a comment really quick, and always watching. Big fan. Bye, Tula.
Thank you so much. But I just want to make a point that and I want to say this, because I'm a firm believer. If you attach yourself to a racist, some in you must be racist, and I got to just say what it is, because I'm not the type of person that, I'm going to say it this way. If you're around me and you say something that's off point about another ethnicity, you're going to hear me say, well, hold on, let me give you a little pushback, and I'm going to say, well, this, and that. Right? But what I think happened with Trump is that the white people that voted for Trump really thought that he was going to punish black people and get rid of the Mexicans, and they got their country back, even if they didn't deserve the job. Peace herself can't burn, and we talking about qualifications. When it came to, I think, Charles Brown, that was in there before Pete herself, he couldn't burn a candle to that man's qualifications, but he got in and fired him. Then he fired other people. But I'm just making a point that what Joy Reid and them said throughout the whole conversation is real. Now it happens, and white people are like, hold on, I didn't think this. How did you not think this was going to happen? That guy is serious. So I'm just glad that I showed that video, and shouts out to the sister who wrote this 1619 project. And she gave a thorough analysis of what's going on. And we got to take heed to what she's saying. All right, y'all, we're going to go to the next video real quick.
Let's talk about the NAACP's call when it comes to athletes and protesting, not going to these predominantly white institutions. Now, it's been really interesting. And I've been in chat groups and people have been texting me. They're like, oh, I don't understand what the NAACP is doing. This is not a good idea. I mean, why are we getting in the way of these young men securing the bag, and on and on and on. Then, oh my God, there was this one article that was the most insane thing I read, where this one black journalist goes, well, why are we asking these young people to do this? As if we don't have a history of young black people being involved for fighting for rights of black people? Like, I don't understand what in the hell she was reading. Howard Bryant, sports journalist, author of numerous books, Henry Aaron on black athletes protesting, of course, Ricky Henderson, latest book on Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson. Yes, it's in my backpack. Joins me right now. So, Howard, just give us your overall view of this NAACP call, because it's not just about the athletes. It's saying to alumni and others, don't support, don't watch, don't buy product, don't give money. It's a detailed plan, but listen to some of these people. You swear it's like, oh my God, you know, they're saying these black kids shouldn't get education, as if your top athlete, like if you're being recruited by Alabama or Texas A&M or South Carolina or Florida. Not like the Big Ten ain't trying to recruit you too.
Yeah, that's right. It's really interesting. I think that one of the things that kind of struck me that was happening is that I think people have forgotten the totality of the fight. I think that the argument that, oh, well, you're not supposed to have these young students or you're asking too much of them. One, it's ahistorical, as you said, but also I think it's something else, and that is, I think that there has been such an overestimation of money. That this idea that these kids are, let them secure their bag, let them get their money, and there's nothing that can stand in the way of that. And I think that what that does is it doesn't pay any attention to, one, the historical struggle or the present one. Those, most of those kids have a lot of leverage. They're not kids. They are incredibly powerful members of a 10 to 12 billion, or if you add in the NFL, a $30 billion industry. And they have power. And all the questions that we have been, whenever you're trying to do any sort of political strategizing, where's the leverage and how can you use it? So I thought that it was fascinating that I think that I think we're rusty. That's what I think. I think that people are also not paying anywhere near close enough attention to the state that we're in. And I just think that it was a very interesting reaction to something that I didn't think was controversial at all.
Something, Howard, we are in a period where it's really about self. It's about you, self and I. Get yours. And, how dare you ask of them? I mean, I've heard people say, well, why isn't the NAACP telling professional athletes? Well, first of all, professional athletes, those are not state schools. We're talking here about state legislators, governors who are making decisions, and the schools, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, South Carolina, Georgia, University of Tennessee. These are all state schools. There's a reason why they're targeting state schools. Clemson.
Well, 100%, and that's also, which is an ACC school, and so I don't think the NAACP went far enough. I think where there are a couple of areas here where I think is worthy of discussion. One is always going to be tactics. I think this sort of came out of the blue for a lot of people, and I think, I'm not sure, I'm doing some reporting on it right now, but I just don't think that there was enough scaffolding. You want, as the great Dr. Harry Edwards would say, that's his phrase that I have borrowed over and over again, you do need scaffolding to create your movement. You need people to understand what it's about and why. You also need your test cases. You need to find the number of people who are willing to go forward with you. And so I think that, the one criticism that I think was valid was this sort of got sprung upon everybody instead of really being meticulous in the movement building. And so I think taking people by by surprise is a little difficult there. I think the other thing, too, is you're right. Your initial point was we live in a time of complete nihilism. I think people have quit. I think one of the great journalists, Naomi Klein, talks about disaster capitalism and how people, especially the oligarchies in this world and in this country, have given up on everybody and given up on the world. And I think that there's a lot of people who have bought into that. And so I'm just going to get mine and do my thing, and that is my definition of success. But that is also not something new. That's something that has been building, for the past 50 years, this idea that there is no community, this idea that we don't owe anything to each other and that we're not in a common struggle. The argument has been that, oh, well, this is just a desperate attempt by the NAACP and by Democrats to show some level of fight. And I think that the issue here is that this is not about politics. This is about what is happening to Black people in this country right now. Everybody, it's an all hands on deck thing. And I feel like one of the real difficulties in these conversations have been these sort of straw arguments that athletes, that these teenagers are being asked all by themselves to carry a movement, and they're not. They're just an extremely important economic piece of it. And we also know, too, that if there is one thing we know, it's that economic boycotts work. They are effective. And if you are going to take something of value and affect it, people pay attention. And nothing is more important to those regions than college football.
Yep.
You are getting their attention, which is exactly what a movement's supposed to do. It's like when the players were kneeling. It's like, well, what are you kneeling here for? Because this is where people are paying attention. So you do need, what I would like to see more of, and I think you're going to have to see it for this to just not be a blip of a news story, is real organizing and real articulation, not just to the athletes, but to the parents.
Yep.
And the argument that people are going to say, well, why are you taking this money from these kids? Well, you're not. If there's money in Alabama, there's money at Oregon. There's money in Wisconsin. There's money in Michigan.
Yeah.
If you're a top 20, top 30, top 40 recruit, you're not going to lose anything. You might actually gain more.
Absolutely. This is the whole thing is called, the NAACP calls it out of bounds college athletics. They have a whole toolkit. Come on, go to my iPad. Let's go. So you got it right here. See it right here. And it lays out the schools. It lays out the demands, what the campaign is, and it calls about getting involved.
Right, y'all. Time is getting short, but, and I was an athlete at one time. And we got to use all hands on deck. Because even though you got all that money, and you got all the money you want to have, but you can't, your mom and dad can't vote. Or your people can't vote to protect your interests. Listen, in the state that you're running for. That don't mean nothing. That's like a slave with a bunch of money in his pocket, and the slave owner said, well, you still ain't got no power. So think about that. And I want people to really understand, I believe in what they're doing, that you got to strike at the core of racism, which is always finances, period. Finances and power, finances and power. So it's like a bunch of slaves being on a plantation, and they say, well, listen, I want y'all to hear me. Now, you ain't got no rights, but we're going to pay y'all a whole bunch of money to go out here and beat the hell out of each other and play football. Now, at the end of the day, you ain't got no rights. So at the end of the day, would you really do that? Now, mind you, before that, you had some type of rights. And then they want to refer to them as kids. Now, when they get arrested at 18, they call them an adult. At some point, and I did a video 2 weeks ago, a week ago. If you studied the 1960s Selma, Alabama march, it was not effective until all them kids went to the church and came out and started protesting. That's when America paid attention. And they was younger than the college people. Them children was happy, say, okay, we finna fight for freedom. And that's when the movement changed. That's a fact. This is what I'm saying. So anybody that say, well, we trying to take the bag, what is the bag with no power? Explain this to me. We are the only people that's been trained to be buffoonish. I guarantee you, if Jewish people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, was being denied the opportunity to vote because they are targeting them in a Jewish way, you think their children ain't gonna boycott? You think the Hispanics ain't gonna boycott? The thing about slavery, the Woody Lynch syndrome, brainwashed us to buy into a concept of, well, just don't say nothing. And if you assimilate, everything gonna be all right. That's crazy. Why would you want to help somebody oppress your people by giving them money to do so? That don't make sense to me. And it shouldn't make sense to a rational mind. Like the brother said, go to another school. Matter of fact, your bag probably get bigger. You know what I'm saying? Period. If they ain't got to segregate you. Well, let me rephrase that. They have already segregated you by telling you that we're going to take a black district that won't have a voice for you. But you can run that ball, though. You can play that basketball. You can run that ball. But when it comes to political power, oh, we ain't giving you that. You ain't getting no political power. Nah, we ain't doing that. We ain't finna let you come up here and dictate what we gonna do in your best interest. We gonna kill you. We gonna put you back in Jim Crow, but you just shut up and play that ball. And I want y'all to really think about that. That's insane. I would be like, hey man, I'm straight. Nope. Roll tide, roll hell. I ain't rolling no tide. Roll hell. I'm out of here. You out here? I'm out of here. I ain't watching Alabama. I ain't cheering for none. I ain't cheering for none of them schools. And I'm from Dot. I'm not doing none of that. Because at some point, black people, we got to stand on 10. They had more rights in the 60s than we do right now. Let me say it again. They had more rights in the 60s as far as voting and all the things that they done peeled back from us under the Trump administration than we have right now. All hands on deck. And the black people talking about those are kids. Them ain't no kids. And if you teach them right, you teach them now. You look 10 years ahead from now if we play what everybody else saying. We ain't going to have no power. You think they want to take our rights away? Come on, man. Come on now. Y'all got to be crazy. I tell people, and I'm going to get ready to end after this. The only way that racism is effective is a racist with power. Let me say it again. The only way racism is effective is a racist with power. Has the power to make laws to determine how to destroy people's lives that do not identify with their racist agenda. Whether ye be white, black, Hispanic, woman, man, whatever. That's something you got to consider. Because that's what they do. They did it during slavery. All they did was pass the law. The Fugitive Right Act of 1850. Wrote a law out. Say, hey, this is the law. So y'all got to realize, no, all hands on deck. Roll tide, roll hell. I ain't rolling no tides. Tide's over. Tide's over when y'all start putting the laws in. All right, y'all. We'll be back on deck Monday at 5 o'clock, God's will. There'll be Real Talk with Tula Cabone. I want to again shout out Pastor Jackson. Shout out Justin. I told Pastor Jackson we would shout him out. Shout out Pastor Jackson. Shout out Justin. And shout out everybody else that listened to the show. Shout out to callers, everybody. And thank everybody for listening. And if you can, please donate again. I'm asking Mr. Tyler to run that one more time after this. But everyone, have an amazing day. And always stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. And keep your head up. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Stay woke.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.